Hey everybody, Asher here, back with even more Kerbal Space Program as today we continue our Duna rescue mission. Trying to get 2 Kerbals off of the surface of Duna, and there's a lot of editing that went into this video. I have a lot of footage I gotta cut down, so hopefully you all can get the picture here. Let's go ahead and dive on in. Here we have successfully landed on Duna again, and I have no way of repairing these parachutes. And considering how that went, we may... Well, I should be able to get up into orbit okay. Man, one of these fuel tanks was really low. Lower than I expected, but that's okay. I just hope we landed somewhere in Duna that actually has something to drill. Because that would be very good. So it is daytime. Let's start the drill. Looks like we're going to be able to fill up on this okay. Like I said before, I can conceivably try and jump a little bit closer. And it's going to be about like landing on Ike, except there's a little bit of atmosphere. I don't have the benefit of more parachutes or anything, though. So let's go ahead and start this as well. 100% load for both of you. And I guess while this is going, we can accelerate time here just a little bit just to see how much ore we get. Please tell me I did not land in a like dead zone of ore. It looks like I might have. That'd be pretty silly. Oh shoot. You know what's going on here right now? We need to turn this into oxidizer. So I was automatically converting ore into things. I was like, why is this taking so long? Alright, so we're going to go down here. Up here. It's just, look at this! It's like the end of some crazy movie. So daytime, nighttime, daytime. There's the sun. Going over Duna ever so slowly as we're continuing to be able to get our fuel reserves up and good. Yeah, I think this is going to be... I think this is going to be pretty successful. Of course, those are famous last words as we are sending out our first Kerbal on EVA, trying to get some last-second science here. And we are going to be taking a long walk, so obviously we are doing some time acceleration here as I'm trying to grab everything I can from the science capsule. This crap hole of a station, actually it would have been pretty terrible even if it was upright and it had 2 solar panels. It crash landed before, but you can see here I am just accelerating, trying to fly with the jetpack, roll on the ground as much as possible. And if there's one thing I didn't quite appreciate until I started the trek, it's that 20 kilometers is a really long time. Even in Kerbal Space Program, even probably under physical time acceleration, it is just a long time. So I am trying to use the jetpack to make the Kerbal go faster across the surface, but still, because of the nice slopes and ridges and everything, it's not quite working out according to plan. So while Alstead is almost kinda sorta about there, let me put it this way. I do a lot of things that take a lot of time in Kerbal Space Program, and this is super testing my patience. So we're going to do something we can do in the new 1.0 update, which previously you'd just be like, you want to try and land and refuel, that's too bad. Now it's, you have a refueling ship, so we are just going to go and fly to our station a little bit closer. Now, the risk of this is that I don't have an engineer and all my parachutes are broken. So we're going to have to aim this as best as possible, try and shoot straight but not go too fast, let the atmosphere decelerate us, and then land as if we have, well, as if we're on Ike, because this ship has already landed on Ike, so that's a start. But see, we have the little rescue boat right here. Should be good. We're going pretty high into the lower atmosphere, but not trying to escape anything. We're going to have to turn our butt, which is proving to be difficult because I'm a little directionally challenged. But right here, just trying to get a little closer. 20,000 kilometers is way too far. And unfortunately, we're kind of following the drift of the dunes there. We are going to be going a little bit south of where everyone else is, but this should make for a far closer transition if I can just fire the rockets. You'll notice I'm only using 3 engines. Keep in mind, and this will come into play later on, as it has before, I did a crap hole job of putting fuel lines in as wow. That is just decelerating hard as possible. see if we can stick the landing a second time here. I don't know if you noticed before, but one of my landing legs actually broke. But hey, here we go. Still managed to land with just the 3. And now we're going to the other Kerbal. So not even a lot of transition time there. Sorry. Like I said, there's a lot of editing. And if you notice there, she launched herself up the ladder and then just kind of flew like crazy. I could not successfully use monopropellant to make that happen. But she can actually fly to the rescue ship. So that's pretty exciting. And obviously we're time accelerating through all of this. But the issue before was that I just decided to move the Duna lander. There's nobody on it right now, so kind of low risk, high reward. And the reward is the payoff of being able to actually fly with an EVA propellant and kind of roll and walk the rest of the way there. As you can see, Ike sitting in the distance. Jeb and his friend are already off of Ike, so this is just the last 2 Kerbals that need to be relieved. Pretty exciting. We don't need to send no other stinking rescue mission, but let's just go ahead and roll our way to the ship. And there we go. I call that a very successful start. Well, here we go. I actually got Valyria Kerman here, so Duna Rescue. It really worked. Yeah, so that's our kind of question for the day, is that after having to do just a little bit of readjustment, here we are actually. Let's go ahead and ditch this because we can take one while walking here. Now, Alstead Kerman, I will walk him over here separately, unfortunately. I underestimated the effect of the dust storms and all the other stuff right here, but we do have Valyria who's able to make it and actually not have to go up a bunch of hills. Alstead should be able to get here fairly soon, although he'll have to hoof it most of the way. And then we can just go ahead and finish off the rescue mission here. So I guess probably for the sake of time, we will check in on the Jool station one more time so we can get Valyria up here, hopefully, without crashing into anything vital. As she has been known to do before, she did destroy a solar panel on the last Duna thing. That's not going to come out of her paycheck because obviously she got stuck here for too long. But grab and board. No crazy flipping out this time, so that is a plus. Now, of course, we're transitioning over, as I said, to the derelict Jool station. This was supposed to go into orbit, but due to launch issues and lots of other things, this is from an old update where heat would transfer really well to heat shields. But we have here, this is the closest approach I'm going to be making to Jool. Well, not that close. We're going to actually time accelerate to the periapsis a little bit. That little green dot there is Jool, and as we go a little closer, we'll see a little closer. I've already sent some science from Jool over here, so that's part of the contract needed for exploring Jool. Unfortunately, no orbit is going to happen because I'm completely out of fuel, and I'm not entirely confident this would survive an aero capture maneuver anyway. But yeah, there is Jool floating in the distance, kind of the, I guess, the carrot in a way to our proverbial space program, one of those so close but just can't quite reach. As you can see, Jool's moons orbiting as if it were another star system, because maybe it's kind of like the theory that Jool could have, if it was just a bit more massive, ignited into a star, and that our solar system was a binary system. Of course, the other issue there is that Jool being so massive has protected Earth and a lot of the interior planets from asteroids and all kinds of space debris. So hey, there's that. Let's look at the green dot in the distance, and you can see the other moons circling by. Pretty cool. But now let's go back to Duna, as don't forget, we have another Kerbal who's just been sitting and waiting a very, very long time to move. And you can see that I do not have everything going. I'm actually kind of freaking out, like, why can't I move him? What's bugged? What's bugged? Turns out I had my not physical time acceleration, but actual time acceleration on for some reason. So you can see here that this is super, super, super time accelerated. I'm currently going at 5 times speed. My goal was to launch over the ridge and then fly the rest of the way, but stinking Duna and its 0.3 G of gravity didn't let me make it all the way, because I thought to myself, you know what, I need to possibly keep some EVA monopropellant for the next hop, the next step in the journey. But it turns out that, you know, we're getting to this ridge. Once again, this is testing my patience. This is me hoofing it really, really fast, already accelerated as is. I didn't even touch the physical time acceleration button, and maybe I should have, because right now this is taking a really, 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 really long time. But, you know what? I got to fill time somehow, so we will just go ahead and talk about the walk on Duna and how beautiful the scenery is. And look, there's a rock, and look, there's a rock. And this is all very exciting. Actually, this whole trek took me about 20 minutes just to... the little bit of flight felt good, and then the walking into the dust storms and everything, which, by the way, that's a mod. The Interstellar Atmosphere mod, which I'm sure there's a better update for and some other stuff, but I'm glad it still works. For those of you who are curious about mods, just know that I'll actually make a pretty key decision here and just burn the rest of my EVA monopropellant and roll down the hill, and that was a really good roll because it takes me a lot faster than walking. But a lot of the add-ons, because it's 1.0, we're not constantly getting different beta iterations. So they tend to be compatible between releases. You don't have to sit there and try. If they're not compatible, they're just not, and you work on it. But notice what's going on here, and I've actually accelerated time even more faster because I have to walk the rest of the way, and I'm sitting here experimenting. Is jumping going to make me go faster? Is walking going to make me go faster? Is some combination of the two going to make me go faster? I experimented with things on my desk that I have available to try and hold down the, I got to remember what key it is to walk forward, the W key, and turns out I didn't have anything that could just let me walk away and record this because it was very important to me that I do this in one sitting just so that you all could see how long it takes or kind of how long the foothold is instead of do let's edit in, let's edit out. But here we are. The rescue ship is there and present and available, and soon we'll be launching 2 more Kerbals into orbit around Duna. Except for one catch. As you can see, I slow it down just a little bit. I didn't put a ladder on this thing because obviously Duna doesn't really have gravity that requires you to have a ladder because you can just EVA up to the cockpit, except of course when you don't have any monopropellant left. So obviously the solution is to take Valyria Kerman out and just do the good old alt-click transfer of things, except that doesn't work. You cannot transfer monopropellant between Kerbals. That's never been a thing. I did stop out of here to ask Reddit and see what I could do about this situation, and they told me first off, you can't do that. They said, you're gonna have to send a rescue mission for your rescue mission. And I thought, screw that. We're gonna have to find another way to try and get Alstead Kerman up into the ship in the cockpit. So what do? We parkour. That's right, we jump. You can see Valyria volunteering to let him get a boost off of her helmet onto the ship. Actually, waiting to record this a little bit did benefit me because they put out an update recently where you can kind of grab onto the ship. I didn't even know that was a thing until I tried this, but unfortunately, Valyria is kind of like a bowling pin here, and jump doesn't work. Jump doesn't work. And Alstead, you can try as you might, but once again, he does not have the benefit of monopropellant, so all this has to be physical jumping, and there is one mining arm, and there is the first step to reaching the cockpit. Of course, what we have from here is just a series of, attempts. As you can see, Alstead falling, and yes, so sue me, I am reloading and reloading and falling, because let's look at it like this. Alstead, as he just fails again. They have a few months, maybe even close to a year, to actually get Alstead up there, and who knows, maybe Valyria can bring him snacks as he just falls and keeps bumping his head. None of these are killing him, so we have another jump crawl, and solar panel. Oh, bonus points for taking out multiple solar panels right there, but almost actually have it. Those solar panels are not vital, but maybe, just like I said, a lot of wall hugging. No. Just Valyria, she's just watching down there helplessly. But there we go. Another jump, another climb. You can see kind of a trend here as we just continue to crawl, and fall. Oh, nope. Maybe. Almost there. Actually lined up pretty well with the door, and nope. That's too bad. Another attempt. Jump up and... Oh, actually did not fall all the way off, so there is hope. He can actually grab onto the leg, and nope, that right into the engine. So Alstead probably has some head injuries by now, but here we go. This looks fairly promising, actually getting the right rhythm to climb back onto the leg. Not much more to do than that, and like I said, this is the most exciting low G parkour ever. So we're right close to the door, and actually got the flash up for the grab and didn't hit it in time. Ugh, so close yet so far, and just straight up falling. And we got another attempt, and just falling again. It's those times when you get so close and then suddenly things don't work very well. Now, there were some other options that people presented to me as nope, not quite there. Like actually tipping over the ship, but because I have 3 landing legs, not so good. But oh wow, just outright missed. But maybe, no, down. And hoppity hop one more time. Like I said, we're kind of getting into the period of almost there. Just got to jump up, grab, and is that it? Is that right at the door? And no. So close. And here we go, Alstead trying once again. It's Duna days take 3 days to go through, so we have a lot of daylight here as he's jumping in. Actually goes right to the door and grabs it successfully. There we go, mission success. Alstead Kerman is ready after lots of attempts to get into the ship, and we actually have... We're going to board anyway, dump the experiments, whatever. This isn't a science mission, this is a rescue mission. Any science we can get is bonus. I don't even think this ship will come back here. But next we have Valyria Kerman, who's been standing down there watching after being a springboard to get Alstead on. That didn't end up working. She still has monopropellant. Or does she have enough to actually make it back up? Because there's a jump. As we have another dust storm cloud coming in now. But Valyria so very close. As she's just ricocheting off. And all I can think of now is this is supposed to be the easy part. It's supposed to be the easy one to get in. But still, she's got to make it up there. This is a surprisingly tall ship once you realize just how high up Alstead had to climb it to get there. So just a little push. A little bit more. And ever so slowly take time because you don't want to break things. Actually turn on the light to try and gauge the depth, because that strut, if she collides into the strut, she could just completely fall right away, but instead passing under the strut. And there we go. Now here's the fun part, I guess you could say, is that we've got all these Kerbals on here. You've already seen from our prior mission just how awesome this ship does launching. But the problem is that it still has to escape Duna, get on an escape trajectory, and what we have is 4 tanks full of ore. So this ship has a lot of extra weight that it otherwise might not have had, plus the higher gravity of Duna compared to Ike, plus the fact that, well, what do you say? It's just a ship that has one fuel line that's attached to something. It doesn't work very well. I kind of debate what kind of orbit do I want to get into here, but all I really need to do is just get in a 90-degree orbit and get the heck out. So that's going to be kind of our plan from here on out, is just to get the heck out of Duna. But I warn you, just to give you a bit of a precursor here, is once again, I didn't use action groups for building this ship, things I need to correct in the future, especially for this ship, which is such a disaster to fly, is that this ship is indeed such a disaster to fly. And I will tell you, this launch in particular will go down in history, and keep in mind, this is the benefit of post-commentary here, but it goes down in my history is quite possibly one of the worst launches I've ever had in Kerbal Space Program. Now keep in mind, there's differences between, like, I don't know what I'm doing, why is my ship not reaching orbit, and everything like that. But this is just a bad launch, as you'll see here, hopefully in just a minute. Like I said, this is going back to real time. And the reason that I'm doing this launch in real time is because I think it's important for you all to see kind of everything in process and action. Unfortunately, when I was recording this, there was a lot of stuff going on in the background, and I do apologize for the humming that was earlier in some of the live recorded parts of this video. That was because my printer was very angry or something for some reason, so we shall see how this kind of goes in there. But up and away, as we have a good stable launch so far, as we have just once again fighting against the Duna atmosphere plus Duna's higher gravity. It doesn't take a ton to get out of Duna, but it does take something, and more importantly, it does take 4 balanced it does take 4 balanced engines to not have the ship go careening back into the soil, because this is a drone ship, it should be able to fly kind of on its own. But you can see I cut the engines. Why do I cut the engines? Because everything's pitching. Why is everything pitching? Because only one of these fuel canisters is actually attached via a fuel line. So I have to go around and search for which one it is. Maybe I should just, excuse me, raise the leg. But you can see once again, we're climbing ever so slowly, almost at 2,000 meters, already having to do a fuel transfer. And once again, the weight of these tanks is really screwing with the center of mass of this ship just a little bit as I try and get a little bit more fuel out. We don't have a lot of balance, and the goal here is eventually going to be to launch with 3 engines, but we've got to start with the 5 because that gives us the oomph necessary to actually escape the lower atmosphere. As scant as Duna's atmosphere is, it still is an atmosphere. So kind of a nice shot there, just with Ike in the distance, this ship flying up into the sky. But I mean, it's just Duna has been good to the space program. There's been a lot of science that's been done on Duna, but really no plans for a permanent colony, given that these two have been stuck on a sideways thing that they had to totally repurpose themselves. But now it's like this is the technical difficulty part of the run. Let's not talk about what crap happened at Eve here, but just every time I'm having to rebalance this fuel, and maybe I should keep things open here, but my goal is eventually going to be as we're getting to 5,000 meters, and I think it's about 12,000 meters, but I don't remember for sure, where we're out of the lower atmosphere. 50,000 meters to get out of the atmosphere entirely. And right now my fuel situation looks okay, but the difference is going to be what happens if, like, I have a screw up and I don't balance the fuel properly. So this launch could have gone a lot faster, a lot smoother if the 4 fuel lines fed into the center tank. Now, I wouldn't ever be jettisoning this ore because I do need the ore onto the ship. But in terms of survival, in case I do need to ditch the weight that is there, I think the Poodle engine probably from here would be enough to get into orbit with the amount of fuel that's there. But you can see not exactly going in a straight line, so that's something that's going to have to be fixed. But my bigger goal right now is just to get out into orbit. That's all I really want right now, as we're getting 18,000 meters, 19,000 meters. We're picking up some speed. It looks like we could possibly do it, but once again, it's just a matter of, oh crap, look at the fuel situation. Our apoapsis is actually very, very healthy right now. So that is a positive, or it does mean it's going to be a catastrophic death if they go landing back in here. But I go ahead, I want to get it up to a safe distance, and I'm going to go ahead and use the maneuver nodes as well to make this just a nice round sort of circular orbit. We'll get everything together later, because as you can see, my fuel situation right now is not great. It's not critical, but the item, the part that allows you to convert ore into fuel, actually does take quite a bit of time to work. So I can't just sit here and convert ore to fuel while waiting. But you can see there's the one launch leg that's just broken, so it's stuck forever. Congratulations. Yet I'm debating putting doing 2 more, like a launch and a landing for the unmanned vessel. Like I was saying before, this may not be making it back to Kerbal, if only because I do have a contract to deliver ore from Ike to Duna, and that doesn't require a manned mission. But you can see that I'm switching out the fuel from the unbalanced tanks, which fortunately they are very clearly marked now by the landing leg that's not there, or the landing leg that doesn't go back down, so that's a positive. So fuel rebalance should be okay, except of course we're going to do the normal thing that I do on this channel, which is overshoot the maneuver node. I don't think we're quite there yet, but just one quick time acceleration, and then I will see. I don't need a ton of time, and technically I could thrust my engines once on the maneuver node. I want to do that when I say just to see the estimated time, because I've shut down 2 engines, which was my strategy getting off of Ike as well as only doing a 3-engine launch. We're now just about out of the atmosphere, and we're still in a suborbital trajectory, so we're going to get hopefully the good turnaround here in just a second. But there is the time acceleration. Ever so dangerous to do this so close. I'm sure our Kerbal crew is happy to see space again. Hopefully they'll be happy to see their buddies on the orbiting Duna rescuer station here in just a few. But I remember wondering before, why won't this ship point straight? It's this crappy unit that is keeping it that way. So now I have a better gauge on when I need to fire, and unfortunately I realized, oh crap, I missed my node, I overshot it. Thanks, time acceleration. So this is not going to be the prettiest orbit ever, but as you can see, we're actually running out of fuel in a hurry, so I am going to have to just sit and cut the engines again in just a second as we're actually careening off course. Because, of course, I dumped the wrong engines. I thought I had the right ones, the ones that weren't connected to a fuel line, but now we're just going to do a launch with the Poodle. We're not going to jettison. I could actually decouple those 4 rockets here, but the reason I'm not, once again, is that this is supposed to be reusable, at least for one more mission. I was thinking before that if it really came down to it, kind of like the theory of the ghillie hopper, if I need to just get fuel and slowly but surely take it back to the storage tank so that I can convert it from there, this ship would be totally capable of doing that. Of course, the ghillie hopper flying hopelessly around Eve in a polar-ish orbit, that it could very easily get slingshot out by Gilly, which takes some doing because Eve has a very strong gravity well and Gilly has practically none. But that's another video for the relative near future because I do have more Kerbals to rescue there. And the more important thing here is that I'm actually pushing my apoapsis back up because I am burning above the horizon. Just trying to balance that out. It's not going to be exactly a 90-degree orbit, but we can correct that later on. But you can see my fuel is so low, the only thing I care about is just getting my periapsis up. And there we go, barely making it. But I do have just enough fuel to get out into orbit, not much more. Once again, the weight of my ship is still fairly significant because it does have all of the ore for that fuel. Now that's not going to be necessarily enough ore to do a ton of maneuvers, but the only maneuver I really need to do is to just hook up with the other ships. So it's just a matter of staying in orbit now, letting this piece of machinery do its thing, and go from there. So, I mean, that's pretty much this episode in a nutshell. It's taken me a little while to get through this. Honestly, the walking part was a little daunting and kept me from recording for a little bit, but I'm glad I'm through here now because now we get to start thinking about the next steps. I still do have some rescues that I need to do off of Eve. I still have Jool that I want to send a mission to. I still have the ELO probe that is going to be another long, like 20-minute burn just to decelerate, and hopefully I don't run out of power too badly for that because I don't have the most advanced power technology. But I think the Eve rescue is going to be important because I do have some missions that involve sending ships around there, whether it's tourist or otherwise. But I think Jool is the next big target, and most of our principal Kerbals are there. I do need to level up some engineers. I do need to do some business at home. But that's it for now. This is Asher. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.